Black and brown creatives, understand me. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast is here. I am looking for you. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. You trying to get it out there? DM me. I will shout out your work. I will drop links to your work. This is free. You don't have to give me a penny. I just want your time and your story, good brother. I just want your time and your story, good sister. We have our platform now. Let's get out there. This is what's up. This is what you need to do. I want your work to be out there, and I'm waiting on you. Tell me a story. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and all of y'all to the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. I am your host, Ijlal Abdullah Muhammad, and as always, we're about to get into some things. Today, I have a special guest, as always, but a different type of special guest today. And I'm going to save all of that suspense for her journey. I'm very excited to speak with her. I was very, very excited and appreciative when she responded to my inquiry as being a guest on the show. So, without further ado, because I know this one's going to be really good. Without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the good sister. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Afro Style Magazine, a platform that celebrates culture, fashion, art, traditions, and social issues. Afro Style Magazine has gained recognition and appreciation from readers and followers worldwide. Afro Style Magazine has featured some of the most talented African designers, artists, models, and storytellers. Her commitment to promoting diversity and inclusivity has also inspired a new generation of African creatives and entrepreneurs everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Black and brown creatives all across the world, please put your hands together for Los Angeles, California's own Amaka Nkele is in the building remotely. Good afternoon, good sister. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm on cloud nine right now. I'm really excited about speaking with you today. Uh, Normally, so far, I have been interviewing, Black and brown creatives. Those who, they're either painters and that's what they actively are doing. That's where they're making their money from. Writers, photographers, today, though, is the first time I'm actually interviewing a creative who is very much promoting other creatives, as the main thing that you do, and I'm so excited about that because that's exactly what I'm trying to achieve here with the L.O.S.T Creators Podcast. So it's I remember when I first spoke with the first guest I had, who was an author, Jamila Tompkins Bigelow. I was very excited to speak with her because I'm also an author myself. And now it's almost the excitement is almost the same because I'm speaking with a fellow creative who is a promoter of Black talent, of Black creativity, and so I'm really, really interested in hearing your journey and seeing what inspired you to want to do what you have done, to create the magazine that you have done, and just to see how that relationship, works. So I'm in. I really am in. I'm so glad that she responded. I can't wait to jump into it. And you know what? I know you're very pressed for time because you are a very, very busy woman. So let's just go ahead. As always on the L.O.S.T Creators Podcast, I ask all my guests to provide me titles of their creative journey, breaking it up into 3 different chapters, and you did so. So let's go ahead and start with chapter 1, which you so lovely titled "Early Life and Career." Go ahead, good sister.
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasant surprise. So, actually,
Well,
invitations are actually a pleasant surprise for me because I don't really think people are paying that much attention to me per se, more so the
really?
magazine. Yeah, I never really. So when people send it to me or request or Rika sends me a message saying, "Hey, someone reached out, interested," I'm a little like, yeah, that must be some kind of a joke kind of thing. But then when I
Mhm.
check it out, okay, I guess the person is serious. So thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, yeah. So basically, I was born in England, UK, London, UK, and partly grew up there. And also, I'm also Nigerian, so of course, I also grew up in Nigeria as well. Um, and after high school, I made a decision to come out here for college, and I went to college for Howard University. Well, I started with junior college first here in LA, and then
Mhm.
um, decided to go to an HBCU, Howard University in DC, where I majored in political science with a minor in journalism communications. And the intent was to get into law school. um, Typically, when you have parents of strong of African background, the intent, their request, or they would want for their children to go into fields that are very, you know, strong in terms of career. So either you're
Right.
a doctor, you're an attorney, that kind of thing. So I was going to go into um, the becoming an attorney in entertainment, something like that. But um, as time went on, I realized I had no interest in that. So, I mean, I did take the LSAT and everything, and but then I just realized it wasn't for me. Um, and so after college, I went to work for a retail company because I'll go back a little bit. When I was a kid, I used to cut out the back of the sketches of fashion sketches of newspapers, and I would color them and everything. And I had like a very thick stack, like a catalog, a big binder of it. I don't know whatever happened to it. I remember bringing it out here, but I don't know what I ever did with it, whatever happened to it. And um, so that was already like an introduction to my interest in fashion and stuff like that. So fast forward to post university, I went to work for a popular retail store. And for the few years I was there, I enjoyed it. I started in the clothing department and then went branched out, being promoted to becoming an assistant manager and a manager for the handbag and accessories division. Um, and so initially I was thinking, okay, maybe my career would be in retail and climb up the ranks kind of thing. But as time went on, I started to not like it anymore, I guess because of the politics behind it.
Mhm.
Um, and so during that time, some time while I was still working there, I took some time off and started thinking about what I wanted to do because I then realized I wasn't happy working there anymore. It wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it would be initially. And literally, I remember waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning one morning, and I decided that I wanted to start a magazine because I
Just
started
like that.
remembering, just like that. Because I started remembering the sketches that then I was like, what the hell ever happened to those catalogs that I had? So I remembered that, and it just started coming to me, and literally, I remember waking up at 3 a.m. I was like, I want to start a magazine. Don't know how the hell I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to start it. So that's how I started. Unfortunately, I mean, I didn't have a background. The thing that I didn't get to do, which I wish I had done, but the focus was on becoming an attorney, going into law school, was having some background working for some media company, be it in for a TV station or a radio station or whatever and figuring out my way. I didn't get to do that. So I really didn't know where to start. And so you're having people tell you, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. Looking from the outside in, it's very easy for people to like throw out ideas, which, it's good intention, but you being in it, it's like you're listening and you're trying different things and reaching out to like magazines, black magazines, and no one is responding. And of course, the popular magazines, of course, it's not that easy. So no one was responding. And so I kind of think I did things backwards where it was like, well, why don't you get started on a photo shoot, try to figure out how you want the magazine to stand out, what you want it to stand for. I mean, I had an idea of the kind of magazine that I wanted representing the community, but I wanted it to stand out, obviously. And so I kind of did things backwards where I put an ad out looking for a photographer, for a photo shoot, and, put a brief description of what I was looking for. And someone reached out to me, and we're still cool till today. And he was like sweet enough to correspond with me and say, I like the idea you have. I will be willing to work with you, on your idea. And so he having a background in photography and having some kind of connections in the industry, so to speak, be it in entertainment and, makeup artists and all that stuff, he started helping me put together the idea of what a photo shoot is like and, been meeting other people. So that's how it just started to grow. And as time went on, I was making adjustments, and I've been at it till today, so to speak. So that's pretty much how the magazine was born. The idea of calling it Afro style was not the idea of, it's quick, easy for people to think hair, Afro, but the story of Afro style is beyond that. So it's like a full circle thing for me, where it's like I've come full circle. Not just for me, but as a community, what the O stands for, that kind of thing. And so I didn't want to I wanted people to look beyond what is expected when they think of Afro style. And I think that's what has been a pleasant surprise for people when they check out the magazine and they see the diversity and the inclusivity. Seeing people of different skin tones, be it black, brown, white, being in the magazine, and they're able to kind of find some kind of connection to the magazine, be it in pictures, be it in stories, be it in the threads, that kind of thing. So I'm glad that people have responded positively. I mean, in all honesty, I actually thought it would be some kind of a hobby when I first started. But I think as it started to grow wings, so to speak, and people really started to pay more attention to it, then I was like, okay, I think maybe I should take this a little bit more seriously. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I have a lot of questions, but I'll limit them to conserve time. One of the things that you stated that I always find, everybody I have interviewed thus far on the L.O.S.T Creatives podcast has always said this: no matter how successful they are currently, no matter how far their creative journey has taken them, they can always pinpoint something back to something they did as a child. And it's always something that's unique as a child. We typically expect, children, they play with their toys, they they have their games that they're interested in, they're outside, or today's kids, they're inside on their phone, the stuff that kids do, right? But then you find that creatives are a little bit different. They tend to gravitate towards, it may be something that all kids do, but it becomes extra for them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, every kid has at some point is coloring in a coloring book, right? But I
Yeah.
remember when I was speaking with KB the visionary, she said that it was more than that to her. She just found joy into um, not necessarily creating something, because the drawing is already there, you're just coloring it in, but feeling that what she was doing was just adding more to it and making it better, and she would make these elaborate backgrounds, and now she's this wonderful painter and this body paint artist, and she does these beautiful murals, but it all started from that coloring book. So um looking back on your childhood as it relates to the clip booking, that's what I'm calling it, that
Mhm.
you were doing. What inspired that? Because not every kid's just going to do that. What would you say inspired you to just do that as a kid?
Well, I mean, because they were black and white. The sketches were basically black and white. And so I think when I would look at them, I would start to imagine, oh, what would this look in this color? And what would this look in this color?
Hmm.
And I just started to color them. And then by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh, this looks cute. Okay, I could rock this if, I was growing up and everything. So I think that's just pretty much what it was. I mean, looking at it, it was black and white. Sketching, whoever sketched it did, an okay job in sketching it. I wondered why didn't they color it, So
Hmm.
I just my imagination was more so like, oh, I wonder what it would look if the sleeves were red and this was this and this was that. And that's pretty much what got me into it. So each time, and then my mom started to notice it, and she would see the clip book, the books where I would, stick them on, and she she was supportive as well because she could see what I was doing, and she was one that always, um, encouraged that I take advantage, that I pay attention to my creativity and not to limit myself in terms of my creativity and all that stuff. So when she saw it, she would, be encouraging and complimenting and everything. So that gave me more of the juice to like, oh, let me. Whenever she buys the newspaper, she'll give it to me, knowing that I'm gonna cut, do the coloring and cut it and everything. And so with that, she bought me a book or two books, and then I started creating a catalog with that with them.
Hmm. And that's actually something else that I'm discovering, that like no creative is born of their own, so to speak.
Mm.
Every single one has said in some way, shape, or form that their mother, their father, their parents, their grandmother, uncle, older brother, someone saw what they were doing and
Mhm.
decided to cultivate or nurture that creativity, which very much helped them out. Um, you are now this renowned, big time, influential, aspiring editor in chief.
Okay, I don't know if I'll go that far,
Well, no,
but
no, no. I'm putting that.
okay.
We know you didn't say these things. I'm saying these things. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
no,
I'll take it, but I'm like, I don't know about all that,
no,
but
no.
okay.
These are Abdullah Muhammad's words. Um, but you are, in my opinion, you are
Thank
all
you.
of that. And but factually, editor in chief of Afro Style magazine, how much of that little girl, how much of her process do you still do today?
Um,
Thinking
I think,
about when you were putting those things together into now.
yeah, I think I still have that in the sense that by the time an issue comes out, the print is an addition to the online. Online was actually the main thing, and the print
Okay.
is an added thing. But either or, but especially, I think, especially the print. Now, when the print comes out and it's at my door and I pick it up to look at it, the feeling of pride, I think, is what comes to mind
Mm.
because it's
Hmm.
it's a lot of work. God
Yeah.
damn, it's a lot of work. And so, staying up, trying to make sure everything makes sense, you know, editing, correcting mistakes. You're just like, oh my God, it's gone to the print house, but man, I just noticed this mistake, so I have to recall it, and and stuff like that. Um, but then by the time it's done and it gets to my door and I open up the magazine, there's this feeling of pride and, of course, relief, but most especially pride. Because as I go through them, I'm like, wow, another one. It looks
Mm,
beautiful. And then
yeah.
so to see that, and then of course when you have people who are posting and complimenting and stuff like that,
Hmm.
it just takes me back to the idea of when I was a kid, and I see the end result when I'm done coloring, and I'm just like, this looks beautiful. I could rock this, and you
Yeah.
know, that kind of thing. So it does. There is that connection, no doubt.
So, just one last question before we get into chapter 2.
Hmm.
Um, the determination, like, where did that come from? You from as far as from what has been explained, no experience in this. Uh, you were supposed to be becoming a lawyer, an attorney. You know, you didn't necessarily know which way to start. You just wanted this magazine. Obviously, it did not happen overnight. Obviously, there were tremendous um, hurdles and things that you had to get over and fight through, and so on and so forth. You said yourself it's a lot of work, and you're saying this after being successful at it. So I could just imagine how much harder it had to been earlier when you were running into those hurt points that you had to learn from. Where did this determination in you come from to not only envision it, but do all that it took to get to where you are and see it happen, make sure it happened, and this was not on the radar for you at all? Like, where did this type of determination come from?
I think part of it was, um, it's easy for me to give some philosophical thing, but no, it was just more so I wanted to see what it's going to come out looking like. Because it was just more so, I'm going to give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, at least I tried. That was pretty much
Mm,
my thing. So for me to make sure that at least I got to the end of the first issue, I'm going to do as much as I can, to make sure that my what I had in mind or my vision comes out in either in paper, well, at that point online. Um, and then I'll see how people react to it. And if it's a dud and people are like not responding, then at least I know that I gave it a shot. Um, and then another thing was that we have so many beautiful magazines that represent the African community, the Black community, the Brown community.
hmm
But there isn't, I just kind of felt that there was something that I think my idea, what I had in mind, was not out there being represented.
hmm
And I wanted to make sure that I put that out there so that at least people, whoever sees it, even if my magazine does not move forward after, if I decide to trump it, like leave it alone, um, that maybe there will be magazines that will pick up on it and run with it. Because I know that there are a lot of beautiful magazines right now that represent the continent of Africa and the diaspora in some shape or form.
hmm
But back then, compared to now, back then, there wasn't anything striking to me that would make me say, hey, I could see this magazine right next to the Vogues and the L's and everything. And
mm
I just, and so I wanted to make sure, I wanted to see the beginning and the end of my creation and see how it turns out. Now, when I look at it now, when I look at the first few issues from the past, I do tend to say to myself, what the hell was I thinking? because because um, I didn't have access to models. I didn't have people weren't submitting their work, so we were kind of doing things on their own. And people were like, "You should be the Oprah," So I was like the quote unquote Oprah for a second, being on the cover of the magazine. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable being in front of the camera. I'm more behind the scenes. So I mean, I would look at them now like I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And the layouts and everything is totally different from what it is now. But I just kind of look at of course look at it as a learning thing. I was learning, but I
Yeah.
knew it's like I have an idea of what I want the magazine to look. So it was just like, okay, these look good. This looks good. Back then, I was saying, and but as time went on, and from there I met other people who helped give them credit for helping me taking it even further in terms of the vision I had and everything. And as time progressed, it started to evolve in terms of the look, in terms of the story, that kind of thing. And now we have what we have now. So I think the main thing is that I really did want people I wanted to have a stamp that Afro style was created, and then with hopes that it would pick up from there, which it did. So I just wanted to do it. So there's nothing philosophical. It's just like, let me just do it and see.
It's great. Um, uh, I, a good friend of mine's told me he had the pleasure of speaking with Bobby Seale, and co-creator of the Black Panthers, and he was asking him, like, so what, especially at that time, I know it wasn't so easy for y'all to try to come up with what you came up with, but like, what, how did you do it, and what, and the main answer that he gave him was, we just went out there and did it. We knew what we wanted to do, and we just got started. We didn't think about this, that, and the third. We just said, okay, let's do it. Just get started.
Exactly.
So as simplistic of an answer as that is, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. So let's go with that and transition straight into chapter 2, which you titled "Impact and Recognition."
Pretty much kind of speaks to kind of what I just said right now in terms of people noticing it. I think the first time that I I knew was making an impact was when people are commenting and and giving the nice compliments, feedback and everything. And so I thought I knew it was making an impact. The one that did trip me out a little bit, that's why sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'm still pleasantly surprised that people would reach out, was when people take that back. The first one was when I start to see people, creatives from other continents reaching out. Like the first was when people from India started reaching out, creatives from India started reaching out, wanting their work to be featured.
Nice.
And that was a pleasant surprise, because you see Afro Style magazine, they don't automatically think
you don't equate India.
You don't equate India. But at the same time, that was pretty much what I wanted the magazine to represent. It's not just representing my people, but being able to celebrate others and their cultures, and their fashions and stuff like that. And so when that came about, and started having these creatives reaching out, from India, submitting their work and, doing photo shoots and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Then of course, when you're having interviews, you reach out, and we interviewed to interview people like Maya Angelou. What's his name that passed away? Colin. I forget his name right now. That sucks. I'm sorry, but he was under the Bush administration. Colin, I think you would know who I'm talking about. You look him up, but him, and then you have Noam Chomsky agreeing to an interview. These are people that, wow, they're willing to have an interview with this magazine. That was a big deal for me, and I'm still, reaching out to other names. But when you have those names, and I say, yeah, we interviewed Maya Angelou, and people are like, what? It's a big thing, and not too long after that, she passed away. Yeah, yeah, rest her soul. And then when another one was then getting called, people reaching out, publishing houses reaching out, wanting to feature content from the magazine in a book. And that was my first time go around. And I got a copy of the book, and I'm like flipping through it, and I see Afro-Style magazine, and they do a little blurb on it. I was pleasantly surprised, because I was like, wow, we hadn't been out that long, and already they're being recognized, And the funny thing is, the photos that they featured was actually a photo shoot that was from India, but the look, the outfits and everything had reminded me of some looks back in Africa because of what they put together. So for them to actually, so that connection was that, I just kind of felt like, yes, people are connecting, people are, seeing something that I want them to see. And in so doing, they're connecting, reaching out and stuff like that.
It's resonating with them.
It resonated with them. Thank you. Being called to give a speech, like a talk to some students in Europe. Well, I didn't go there, but it was a virtual thing because their professor was following the magazine, and they were working on a project, and he liked the aesthetic of the magazine, and he wanted me to talk to his students and to kind of give them some ideas, because based on what I was telling them about the idea behind Afro Style, they would use it to create some virtual design thing. That was that was something to me, because it was not just me. There were some other creatives and other people they reached out to, but I know that when I was done talking and people asking questions, they were intrigued. Maybe that's the word I'll use. I can't really describe them, but I think they were intrigued by what Afro Style stood for, stands for. And so when I finally saw what they came up with, the project and everything, it was a good thing. Then, of course, being the magazine, being one of the few magazines featured at the Africa Fashion at the Brooklyn Museum last year.
Nice.
That was another big one for me, because the way it happened, like I said, I thought it was some spam thing, and it kind of happened backwards the way I was told about it, where the person that reached out to us asked for the measurement of the magazine, and we responded, and I think she asked a few more questions which we responded to, and we were wondering, like, why is she asking all these questions? And when we asked, she said, oh, we've been following your magazine. We have an exhibition coming up called Africa Fashion, and we would love Afro Style to be part of it. And when I was told about it, I was like, you're right, for a second.
You stay with the paranoia. She's like, oh.
Yeah, okay, right, But then we looked at it, checked out I was like, yeah, okay, I am familiar with the Brooklyn Museum, but I just wasn't sure if she was being serious. And of course we said, yeah, we want to be a part of it. We didn't hear from them for a while. So at that point I thought, okay, I guess they decided not to move forward. And not so long, next thing we heard from them, okay, so we're ready, sir, for the delay. We've been working on the installations. We would like your magazine to be sent to us and everything. And at this point, this is when I had just started adding print to the online. And we had just released the latest print at that point. And so I was able to send it to them and hadn't seen anything. And then my brother's friend who lives in New York sent me a video, just random video. And next thing I see the wall, and it was like maybe 5 magazines total, or 6. No, I think it was 4 or 5 magazines that was housed against the wall. And he stopped at my magazine, and I was like, "Oh my God, I know I have to go to New York now to go check it out." So,
yeah.
So to see it was another pinch me moment, because I was like, I don't know how they found, and just to see that we don't have that many African magazines representing, and so to be one of those amongst some, like 4 other magazines housed in a section, and I didn't realize how big it was until I got there, and it was like, this is freaking big exhibition. So, walking around, and then I finally get to where we're housed. It was a beautiful feeling, and most recently the magazine, this one was their photo shoot that was done in London, and we had gone forward with featuring in this actually newly released print. And a few days later, they reached out saying, this publishing house in Italy, they're working on a jewelry trend, and they love this photo shoot. I want your permission to use them? And I was like, yeah, as long as we get the credit and everything. And I finally saw the book. I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing something good with it.
So,
yeah, so it's good. I think, this, no matter how small, the fact that people are recognizing, it's a pretty good feeling.
are you still in that stage of, because even by your own accord, you received several points of recognition, and showed how your impact is spreading. Does it ever get old? Are you still like, oh wow, you're interested in me? Oh wow, you want to use my cover for this? Oh wow, it's going to be at this museum. I mean, is it still very much very fresh for you, and you're still just very amazed? Has it reached any level of, it's like, oh okay, I kind of figure that this should be happening now, along as far as how long the magazine has been out? Is it still amazing every time it happens? Are you still taken aback?
I'll honestly, I'm still taken aback. Not because it does not deserve. Of course, when I look at the magazine myself, I'm taken aback, because as I flip through the magazine, like I said, it's a feeling of pride. Like, yeah, this is Afro style, because and people who actually check out the magazine, or even not just friends, my friends would tell me if it's good or not. My dad does not waste time in critiquing if he has to critique it, things like that. You're gonna, but I know it's coming from love, of love and everything. Right. But then when you have strangers or people who just happen to come across the magazine, reach out and say, your magazine has a niche, has something that is not being shown, that is missing. It's a good feeling, but at the same time, it's still a pinch me moment, because I guess just because of where I first started, how it started, and then to come this far, and then I check out, because I look at other magazines, I look at other African magazines, or African inspired, or not just African, but just other magazines, including the popular ones that are around outside, like the Vogues and everything. I look at them for inspiration. I look at them like, what do they have that I can put my own spin on? And the fact that people do see it and reach out and say, I want to feature your stuff here, even like I said, you reaching out saying you want to interview, it's still a pinch me moment because I'm one that I'm not out and about. I don't, not because I'm antisocial or anything, but it's just I'm more to myself. I'm more, working behind the scenes. If I have to
Right.
go somewhere, I'm fine. So when people actually search me out, my online presence was not done by me because I wanted to be online. I was forced to create my account
I
because I did
understand.
not have it. Yeah,
Hmm.
so so when people reach out, find out, they're like, "Hey, we found you and we want to do this," or "We found your magazine." I'm like, "Wow, it's still a pinch me moment, no matter how big or small." Because the fact that people take the time to look through, find some connection to it, and then say, you know what, we love your magazine enough to feature you in an exhibition, to feature you in a student project, to feature you in books. It's a beautiful thing. And when my cousin typed up my name and pulled up something and said, "Hey, Amaka, you're online. Like, there's information about you." That's a pinch me moment. Moment, because I'm just like, for real. I really don't think much about. I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. It's just I'm just more pleasantly surprised is the term. Like when I
Right.
went to the museum with my mom and my aunt, I was really quiet, not saying anything. People who walked past would stop to look at the magazine spread. They were the ones yelling, "That's my daughter. She's the editor in chief." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Like, and she was like, "What the hell is your problem? You're supposed to be saying that kind of stuff." I'm like, "That's nice, but I really don't know how to." And people were like, "Oh my God, that is so cool," but it's just not my persona. So it's just more so I'm pleasantly surprised. I appreciate it and I like the fact that people are recognizing it. But it's still a pleasant surprise for me that people do recognize it and do reach out or whatever the case may be.
That's great. That's great that regardless of the foreseen success, you still keep your humility. You know, so that's a good thing. Um, so let's go ahead and transition, straight into chapter 3, which you titled "Personal Philosophy and Future Plans."
Yeah. The personal philosophy, I think, speaks to basically, I kind of hinted at it a little bit in terms of what Afro Style stands for.
Yeah.
Um, Afro Style is about celebrating that which is ours in terms of our culture, in terms of what we stand for, telling stories, but also Afro Style, which I I believe, and maybe there are changes and everything, but I not being afraid to celebrate cultures outside of our own. And
Hmm.
it can be in Asia, like I told you, Indians started reaching out and everything to feature
Hmm.
their stuff. Not being afraid to celebrate cultures outside of our own. I'm a multicultural person. I
Hmm.
find beauty in not just where I'm from, but and the continent and the diaspora. But I also find beauty in other cultures outside of mine. You
Yes.
know, be it in the costume, the traditional wear, not costume, the traditional wear, be it in the language. I may not understand what the hell they're talking about, but just the beauty or the tone of what they're saying
Right.
sounds beautiful to me. Be it in the dances, you know, those are kind of things that I I appreciate. And
Hmm.
so not being afraid to say that I'm going to feature um, an Asian person,
Hmm.
a Polynesian person, a European person, a white man, a black woman, a brown, pink, whatever. Because the reason why I do that is because if life started in Africa, then I
Yeah.
don't see a reason as to why I can't at least appreciate, even if I don't understand it or I don't
Hmm.
agree, I don't understand or I don't agree. There is nothing wrong in giving a voice And that is what I think the magazine has done, because now you're having people in South America from Brazil. A lot of the artistry in Brazil and South America is amazing. So
Mhm.
when I see them sending content to to the magazine, and I see their work, these are works that you will find in the Vogue of the world, and and they're actually reaching out, wanting to feature their stuff in the magazine. And I look at it and I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and feature it. The pride in which a lot of them have when they see their work either posted on the, if it's not in the magazine in terms of online or in the print, but just being posted and celebrated on our platform, it's a beautiful thing. Because
Mhm.
when, and that pleasant surprise still tends to strike me, because I'm just like, we just posted it online. But sometimes I would see, they would say it in their language, like write it in their language, or maybe, or in English. Or once they write it in the language, I'm able to translate it and see what it is they're saying. And the joy in their celebration that Afro Style in America posted our work. It's
Mhm.
it speaks volumes that I think we, as in the Black community, fail to tap into.
Yeah.
And that, I feel, is something that I take pride in. Being able to learn from photo shoots. I remember a photographer in China sent me a photo shoot that he did, and I can picture the name of the tribe, but they're kind of marginalized in China. And I think the name starts with a U, and I apologize that I can't remember the name. But I remember they did the shoot amongst the tribe, and it's a beautiful shoot. And he told me about them, and I was like, these are people who are marginalized tribe in China, and they decided to go do the photo shoot amongst them. And you're just seeing them like sitting around, and then you're seeing the models, and they're taking. I was floored by it and thought it was beautiful, and that made me go take a look in the I think it's your. I'm not going to even pretend to pronounce it, but just being able to, I went in to go look into who they were, finding out about who they are, and what they're going through was sad.
Mhm.
But being able to for them to do the photo shoot, I was honored to feature that work in the magazine,
Mhm.
because I'm not, I'm celebrating them, because what they're going through is what a lot of our people are going through in Africa
Yes.
here. So finding some kind of common ground in some shape or form. I've had photo shoots where we've had, white models in there, and stuff like that. And people may say, why are you featuring white models? And I'm like, have you kind of paid attention to the story? One had to do with identity. A lot of white folks, a good number of them, who were born in Africa, grew up in Africa, you know, don't know, are kind of shunned from our community because, hey, you're not like us in terms of a complexion, right?
Mhm.
They speak the language, and everything. They celebrate our culture or who we are. What is wrong in giving them, in celebrating them, right?
Right.
That's the mindset I have when it comes to what AfroStyle stands for. So that's pretty much my philosophy, and also telling stories that I may not agree with. The idea of scarification in
Mhm.
our culture, that is a huge thing in a lot of cultures. That I can't stand the sight of a needle. So you can imagine scarring me, though it's a traditional thing. Um, the
I
idea
think
of mental health and stuff like that.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think it's Uyghurs.
Yes, I was trying to
Uyghurs.
pronounce it like
Uyghurs.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's them. Yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with them. They're I believe they're Muslim. Uh,
Yes, they're
uh,
Muslims
yeah,
and they're marginalized. So they did a
big time.
photo shoot. Yes,
Yeah, they go.
and
They have
so
serious oppression there.
yeah, they have that, and so being able to do that, and people may say, why are they in the Afro style? I'm like, why won't they be in Afro style,
Hmm.
right? So that's pretty much the mindset that I have. Not everybody has to agree with me. I mean, one thing that I don't condone on our platform is anyone insulting or being rude because they don't agree with something. This is not the platform for that. We're all about uplifting, celebrating. If you don't like it, that's fine. Move on to the next thing, you know, or find a magazine, platforms that do that. And I'm all about that, but it's just more so, hey, we as a people demand our presence be in other fashion magazines and other platforms, right? They're not demanding it. But for me, it's like we rightly should demand that we be featured in the Vogues and all that stuff, then I think it's okay for me to say I'm going to feature someone who doesn't look like me, but they have a story that we can learn, be it in fashion, be it in the artistry, or just being in the storytelling. That's something that I stand strongly behind. Even so, if people may not understand it, just because of the name, and people say change the name, don't put it as Afro style. I'm like, no, I'm not, because there is a reason why it is Afro style, And so that is something that I stand by and I'm proud of, and I think that's why a lot of people respond positively to it. Yeah. And what was the second part? I'm sorry.
So you titled personal philosophy, which you've explained, and then future plans.
Future plans. Pretty much expanding a little more. I've added again. I've not been one that is in front of the camera, but I decided to do a little bit of an expansion, adding a little podcast to it, because not everything. Well, there are thoughts, my thoughts and stuff that I tend to want to discuss that I can't put in the magazine or don't need to put in the magazine. So having to do that with a friend of mine who is Filipino and Indonesian, being able to hear her thoughts from her standpoint and vice versa. And of course, being able to interview amazing people and have some kind of common ground when it comes to stories and storytelling, like the one we have coming up with a Nigerian, a deaf actress who has such a beautiful soul, Natasha Philly, and just hearing her tell her story through her interpreter was just amazing, because things that we in our community don't tend to pay too much attention. We maybe demand stuff or say we have to do stuff, but we're not necessarily hearing from those people who are going through it. Just hearing them speak their truth is something that I want Afro Style to do as well. And so that's the future plan. I would want for, the problem right now that I've said it before is I love our community, and our community, of course, we definitely want the best for us, but I think sometimes it's a little difficult, in my opinion. Yeah. And so it's like we kind of have to fight harder in front of our people for them to understand that don't look to the Vogues and the L's and stuff like that for acknowledgement. Look to magazines such as ours.
Right.
And that's one thing that I've noticed that I'm hoping will change, and with the magazine via the podcast here, because they're just a handful. There's so many beautiful magazines out that I've seen, but they just don't get that much recognition amongst our people, right? Yeah. And I would want for that to change with what I have going on. For us, if we want to be seen, we have to see ourselves first. It's like, and not just saying, not just demanding that we're seen in other magazines and all and stuff like that, but saying that we want to be seen, we want to see ourselves, and not only see ourselves, but help push our own stuff to the forefront, because I think that's the way that people would really start to take Black media seriously.
Yes.
And that is one thing I'm hoping with the podcast and other things that I hope to work to see come to fruition do. So
yeah. And you're talking about you're referencing Let's Talk, right, with your co-host Amelia?
Yes, Let's Talk, the Upper Style podcast with me and Camellia. Yeah, we talk about different things, silly things. Honestly, it's not always like serious. So it's something that everyone can relate to. So there's some things that we'll talk about that is more in depth, and then of course interviews, and then just silly things that we as human beings will want to talk about. Things that you say, and I'm just like, oh my god. But it makes it interesting, you know. But
makes it relatable.
Exactly, relatable and stuff like that. And so I'm hoping that helps propel our media, Black media, African media to the forefront, because there are a lot of good mediums out there. But I think if it's not like the gossip type thing, no one really pays attention, which is, you know, or the well-known ones. So I'm hoping that people start to pay attention to our own and really seek out not just my magazine, but other magazines that are really representing the continent and the diaspora, you know, proudly.
Yeah, you know, you are a creative after my own heart.
Oh, thank you.
No, I'm serious when it comes to that. Me and so the interview I had, creative's name is Tasha. She's a brilliant illustrator, and we had similar conversations. But one of the things that I've always stated, and you know, me and my wife talk about a lot, is you know, stop wanting or yearning for inclusion or representation from people who make it very clear that they don't care to give you that. Exactly. You know, and rather than just saying, oh well, create it on your own, and you know, so that way those who do look like you have something. And
exactly.
And it's what you've experienced yourself. You know, when we build it, they will come, and they come because we're all, everybody watches us. Everybody watches us with microscopes. I mean, every move we make, every sound we utter, we are consistently being watched and studied, you know, and unfortunately it doesn't translate into admiration. It just translates to, okay, I want all of you, but not from you. You know, and if we could just, like you were stating, if we could just understand that and then look to ourselves for that appreciation, you know, for that recognition, and promote ourselves for that appreciation, for that recognition, you know, we would see that not only do we not need those other things, we would also see that the appreciation coming from ourselves is far better, or would be far better than a little bit of crumbs that we get, you know, from those that are not us.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish.
I was going to say, because an example of that, what comes to mind was I think it was during the lockdown, there was this challenge that a French photographer started. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was like this Vogue Africa, because Vogue does not have, you know, a presence in Africa. And so this guy started doing Vogue challenge, where he would take his photos and create the Vogue cover, and it just blew up and everything, even to the point where Naomi Campbell was spreading, because we're trying to push Condé Nast, who publishes the Vogue, all the Vogue magazines, to come out with a Vogue Africa, because you have GQ South Africa, L South Africa and everything, but nothing in terms of Vogue. And it went on for some weeks, and I think finally Condé Nast responded and declined to create, because I think, from what I understand, I don't know how true it is, but Naomi Campbell was pushing for that because she felt like if that can come out, then she could help lead that and everything, which I thought would be a good idea, but Condé Nast turned it down, saying they can't do it because of how vast Africa is.
Right.
And it just had me thinking that, man, how about my magazine? How about the other magazines that I know that are doing so well? Why aren't people pushing for, those magazines where it's like, you know what? We can't get the Vogue Africa, but here are some African magazines that major publishing houses can, or at least people can start to help push. And I don't think people they're kind of focused on the Vogue. We need to have our Vogue Africa because they have the Vogue China, Vogue this, Vogue that. And then it's like, well, who's going to do it? So why don't you look to magazines such as ours that are working on representing the continent and our people. At the museum, I noticed that there was a magazine that represents Northern Africa, right? And then another one, I think, that represents the southern part of Africa and everything, like, I guess, where they're published and everything. And then there is mine. So there are magazines out there that can be that represent the continent in different, ways. And it's just a matter of whenever those publishing houses decide to take a chance, they will take a chance. But you do say, I would say that there are even, when they do decide that we're going to take a chance on an African magazine, it would make no sense for our people to complain that, hey, you guys are not, you're going you sold out and went to the publishing house. But I'm like, but you had a chance to help push us along and you refused to.
Yep.
And so to me, it's like we need to kind of we're kind of right now sort of in the do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. And I'm hoping that changes along the way. But because if we can't do it for ourselves, then all we're going to keep doing is just complaining and complaining and complaining. And that's what they would look at us as, like, we're just complainers. Right?
Yeah. Isaac Hayes III, he's the founder of Fanbase, which is basically a Black social media platform. It's like, for lack of a better way of explaining this, it's like the Black Instagram. Okay. And he's consistently making this exact argument. How if you're tired of your stuff being stifled, if you're tired of the misrepresentation or no representation at all, create something of your own for your own, so you can get the representation that you're looking for. But then you can't stop there, because once you have it, it's like you got to fight tooth and nail to have Black people actually want to use it,
Exactly.
And it is a very unfortunate situation, and in many ways more than one. It is a miserable condition that we tend to find ourselves in, when you really look at it, but the silver lining is Afro Style Magazine, right? The silver lining is the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. The silver lining is Fanbase. When we find those of us who say, okay, I'm going to create this platform and I'm going to promote us and show us in the light that we deserve to be shown in, and it's going to be great, and people are going to recognize it, and even though our ultimate goal may seem like a long road ahead.
Hmm.
We still can see it. We know we'll get there because we exist.
Yeah, that
AfroStyle magazine exists. So therefore, that is the thing that lets us know we'll reach that goal. It may be a long time. It may be
it
a
makes
few generations down the line, but we're going to reach it. Um,
exactly.
I definitely want to stay respectful of your time.
We can do
I didn't want to
we can do 10 more
cut you
minutes
off.
because we can do 10 more minutes. And
Okay,
we,
cool. So I did want to get to my questions that I like to ask all the creatives who I interview. First one, which is my favorite out of all of them. Do you consider yourself a creative?
I don't know if I would say I do. I don't know. Just because of what I'm doing. Maybe, I guess you could say that. I mean, because when I think of a creative, honestly, I'm thinking of the painter,
Mm-hmm.
the writer and everything. And I don't know if that's what I am. I'm the one that kind of puts them all together. And I guess you can say, well, I created the magazine. So, but in my mind, I'm just thinking in terms of that word. I'm thinking of the painter, the sculptor, that kind of thing. So I think it all depends on the person. I'm just a mocker. I really don't know. I think I have an artistic mind. Um, I'm a visual person, so I have to like when someone's explaining stuff to me, I have to visually see what they're telling me for me to understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say that I am a creative. It's whatever. If you choose to call me a creative, I will take it. But I don't know if I'll call myself a creative.
Okay. Um, if I may, this would be my first time doing this. But I almost feel the need to. Normally, I just ask that question, and whatever answer I get, I move on with it. Um, I think you continue to show just how much of a humble person you are. Um, but one of the reasons why I chose to call this the Lost Creatives rather than the Lost Artists
Hmm.
is because I believe artists uh, tend to be pigeonholed into the painter,
Mm.
the musician, the dancer. You know, those are the things that people automatically gravitate towards when they hear artists.
Hmm.
I didn't want to do that. I believe that creative is a much broader stroke and a much more deserved or more accurate stroke than artist. Um,
Mm.
ex um, Sharita of Ink Beautiful. I interviewed her. She's an AI artist.
Hmm.
She said that she couldn't draw to save her life. Can't draw.
Mm.
Can't draw. Can't do it. Just can't do it. She tried over the years, just never could do it. But she always had these visions. She
Mm.
just she just didn't have the talent to be able to bring them out in with the mediums that were accessible to her, painting, drawing, whatever have you. But when AI came about, that was it. She finally found the medium that allowed her to express this creativity that she has
Mhm.
always had in her.
Mhm.
And her work is great. It really is. And it's more than just you talking commands into the computer and it just generating for you.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I will say this much. Not everybody can be an editor in chief of anything, especially something that requires a certain eye.
Mm.
You just spent an hour explaining the importance of capturing what is Africa. That's not something that with that's not something that someone who has no creativity can just do. You've done it in
True.
such a way. You've done it in such a way where people want to see their creativity in your publication. If you weren't a creative, I seriously doubt you would have been as successful as you have been. I didn't say you wouldn't be successful, but I seriously doubt you would have been as successful as you have.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Thank you.
it remember, you at the end of the day, you decide what's going to work,
Yeah,
and people are responding to that.
true.
I
Never
is
thought about it that way. It's just more like, okay,
I mean, well, like I said, I love your humility, and don't change.
oh, thank you.
But those of us who get to appreciate your creativity, that's all right. We will talk you up for you. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So yes, I definitely consider you a creative good sister, which is very much why I wanted to have you on the show. So let me brush through just a few more of these here. As a creative, if you had the time and you could actually generate, you could actually dedicate time to getting good at it, make it a real focus, what art form would you like to study and do and become great at?
I do like interior design. Because one thing for me is, like I said, I'm a visual person, so I can look through and be like, yes, this is me. But for the life of me, to actually go put like a look together in terms of like interior designing and all that stuff, child, will just I'll be like, what the hell am I doing? But so I'll be like, so I'm just like, when I get my house and everything, I'm not doing it. My mom is good at stuff like that. But me, it's like I can visually see it and I'm like, yeah, this is what I would like for my room and stuff like that. But in terms of going to actually do it, to me, it's like, I'll be like, I don't, why am I bringing this? Why is this heat? Like, it would just be I think maybe it would be just too overwhelming for me to try and put together. So that is one thing I would want to study, like really I would want to, because yeah, it's a talent to be able to even be a stylist. I'm a jeans and t-shirt person. So I'm not. But the thing is that I would see looks, and I'm like, that is so me. I would rock that. Maybe a photo shoot, I'll be able to kind of put something together. But if we say let's go shopping, I would. That would be. My mom tends to like get on me, like, why the hell are you wearing this? I'm just like, because I'm comfortable wearing this, because I want to wear jeans and she's, So I think those kind of go hand in hand. Being a stylist, and also being an interior decorator. Those are the two things I'll say I would want to study and get my hands on it. And I'm like, yes, good to go. Because visually I can see it, but putting it to doing it physically, that's a whole different story.
I interviewed Erica Dunlap. She's a photographer, and as of within the last year, a magnificent painter. But in photography and obviously a magazine is kind of go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. She said the same thing when I asked her that question. She said interior design would be the thing that she would want to get into, and with her personality, she said it because she's doing it. She's like, and I'm going to do it too. So that's just the type of person she is. But I just find that interesting that people who share the same, who have success in the same type of similar world, if given the time, would want to do interior design.
Yeah, it's amazing when I see the end work like before and after. I'm like, like that is so beautiful. I would not have thought about that, but I could see this what I want my home to be like. But when they say, "Because let's go do some shopping and say," I'll be like, "Yeah, go hire someone for me because I'm not going to be doing all
Right. um,
that."
what are you the most thankful for as it relates to your creative journey?
um, I'm most thankful for having a vision.
Mm.
Thankful for waking up at 3 a.m. and saying, I'm going to, I don't know what the hell, why.
Yeah, I bet.
So waking up at 3 a.m. to say, I'm going to start a magazine. But I think I'm thankful for the resilience too. I think I'm thankful for three things: the waking up, the vision, and sticking to the vision, and just the resilience. Because there were times that I was ready to like call it quits.
Yeah.
Just because um, sometimes it was overwhelming. And even sometimes now it's still overwhelming. And I'm just like, what the hell was I thinking? But a few years back, I was close to like just letting it go. So like it was in a good run and everything. But then there's just something inside of me that says, okay, you gotta, there's a reason why you woke up at 3 a.m. and God said, start a magazine. So I think those are the three things, they kind of go hand in hand. And the vision and sticking to the vision is, again, when people think of Afro style, they have this monolith way of thinking, like this is what Afro style is, right? And so when I'm sent stuff and like, oh, you can do this and make money and do this, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, no. As much as the money part would be good, this is not what Afro style stands for. So I'm not going in that direction. It's like when people like, oh, it's all about hairstyles and everything, and I'm like, that's fine, but that's not what Afro style stands for. Oh, print, the boo, the big clothes and everything. Like, there are a lot of magazines that are showcasing the print. There are a lot of magazines that showcase that. That's not what the magazine stands for. It's beautiful, but there's got to be some kind of story behind that. And if all I'm seeing is print and nothing else that speaks to me, I'm not going to go in that direction. So they're just different things that go through my mind. So just being able to stick to the vision, have the vision, stick to the vision. And in turn, you're having people recognize that this magazine is different. It's totally different from what I expected, So those are the three things I'm grateful for.
Great. Well, the last part of the questions is the segment that I've titled "Take It to the Gut," GUT, which stands for Giving Up the Tangibles, resource to help other creatives who are starting out, and wanting to eventually get to where you are. So, first question is, what should creatives in your specific space do to get better? In particular, those looking to start a magazine of any type. What should they do to get better?
Honestly, I will be lying if I said I knew the exact answer. Just because I didn't start the natural way. I started to me in a weird way. But one thing I would say is doing the research, right? Trying to find out what exactly what you want your magazine to represent that makes what you have going on separate from what others have going on. Whether maybe the term better, but just for me, I wasn't looking at this is what my magazine what's gonna make this magazine better than the rest. It was just more so, what would my magazine stand on that makes it different or unique in comparison to others out there. doing the research to find out are there magazines that are doing what it is that you want your magazine to stand on. Um, and if there isn't, then start shaping it up, like start shaping it, right? Um, and not being afraid to really step outside of what you know. Like I said, I look to other magazines, not just from Africa or from the Black community or brown community. I look to other magazines that are from different cultures and and stuff, because there's something that they have and it could be the writing, it could be the font being used, it could be the layout, it could be anything that can inspire you and say, you know what, I like the look of this, and this is how I want it to be in terms of the layout, in terms of the story being told. So those, I would say, are the main things. It'll be easy for me to say, oh, go look to other companies and reach out to magazines. I did all that. Nobody responded to me. So I would not be, I will not be doing all that and say, but if you choose to want to do that, of course, please do that. But I can't do that. I'll say that because I tried it, and from the major Black magazines that we know, nobody responded to me. So, but if that's something that the person wants to do, of course, by all means, add that to whatever it is. But mine was mainly research, scripting out what it is your magazine would stand for, being inspired by other magazines, stepping outside of the comfort zone, so to speak, or the usual box, stepping outside of that box, and seeing. One thing that I used to use in terms of my hashtag in the past was think outside of the box. And that is something that we all use, but I was literally thinking outside of the box, because I was like, this magazine has to stand out from other Black magazines, not because it's better or anything, but it's more so like there is something that my magazine is offering that probably I'm not seeing with other magazines, or people are not seeing with other magazines. And people tell me that you have something in this magazine that stands out, that is, you're offering something that other have not seen other Black magazines offer. I don't know what it is. They don't necessarily tell me, but whatever it is that they're seeing that they're not seeing in other magazines, well, I've done my job. So that's the same thing. Think outside of the box. And when I say think outside of the box, it's going beyond our box as a community. Not being afraid to say, I am inspired by this magazine or this group or this stuff that is not necessarily for my community, but I've been able to learn and I'm able to pick from that and then make it my own in some shape or form, and then bring it to your magazine. And it would make a difference because people will notice.
It's interesting. You started off as not necessarily knowing how to answer the question, and then I think you gave the best answer. So
yeah, because it's always easy. It's always easy for, and I say it not as anything bad or anything, but I think when you're the one dealing with it, it's almost like when you're saying, I have a headache, right? And then people tell you, go sleep it off, go drink water, The outside in, they're telling you, oh, go do this, go do this. And I'm going to go do it. And I know for a fact, me per se, when I have a headache, sleeping it off and drinking water is not going to help me.
Not going to help, yeah.
It's not going to help. I need the medication. Right. I need the Excedrin or whatever it is that I need to take. So when people say go sleep it off and everything, it kind of, well, I'm not saying that it angers me. I'm just using that as an example.
I understand, yeah.
So it's more so when we go sleep it off, go whatever, I'm just like, no, that's not going to help. I need something, right? So that's kind of the same thing I would say with regards to that in terms of as a creator and anything. It's easy for us from the outside in talking to this person saying, yeah, go do this, go do this, go do this. And that may not necessarily work for the person. So I can only give based on what I experienced but then whatever you take from that and add whatever it is that is also going to work for you or you feel is working for you, please go ahead and do it. And then tell me when you're done what you did, so I can also take something from it and apply it as well. So.
Right. Okay. And the last question of that segment is what should they do to best promote themselves, best promote their up and coming magazine? What's the best thing they should do?
I mean, consistency in terms of being out there is the best answer I can give. I mean, the magazine, we grew it organically,
Mm-hmm.
So it's just consistently posting or putting out things that that would get the attention of people. Because my battery is running low for my earpiece, so I'm not sure if it's going to affect our conversation. But yeah, so just being consistency in terms of what you put out there, in terms of the stories you're telling, and being creative, being really thinking outside of the box. Really is what I would say. But consistency is key.
Okay. Can you please right now? Tell everyone. Please provide the handles that you would like people to have. Websites, email addresses that you want or you feel comfortable people having, or for them to get in contact with you, for them to get in contact with the magazine. Take this time to just provide that information.
Yeah, so our magazine at Afrostyle Mag with a Z at the end. This is our Instagram. Our email is info@afrostylemag.com. Website is www.afrostylemag.com or afrostylemagazine.com. My personal, though it's not as much of a big thing, is Amaka, Amaka Nkele, Nkele is my handle on Instagram. Same thing for Threads at Afrostyle Mag, MAGZ as in zebra is our handle. And then on Facebook, Afrostyle Magazine is the handle on Facebook.
Okay. Amaka Nkele, thank you very much. I truly appreciate you, answering my DM message to you and scheduling time out of your busy schedule to be on the L.O.S.T Creatives podcast. This was extremely insightful. Like I told you earlier, I resonated with so many things that you stated. It was great speaking with you because you have succeeded in creating what I wanted to also create for Black and Brown creatives. And to know that, you're out there, you exist, your platform is working. It definitely inspires me to continue to believe and know that what I am doing here with L.O.S.T Creatives is of benefit, and it will work, and it will definitely get the recognition that I'm looking forward to have, and it will definitely help the Black and Brown creatives that I'm looking forward to help. So thank you so much, in many ways, more than one, for being here and for telling your creative journey on the L.O.S.T Creatives podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate the reaching out. Again, pleasantly surprised. But I really did enjoy. I ended up staying beyond an hour. Someone called me. I was like, I'll get to them later. But it was really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the interview, the conversation, and I appreciate you being open to listening and getting something, and vice versa. So hopefully we have you get more people who are and that your audience gets bigger. And you're getting more people to listen and be inspired in whatever they do. So, and kudos to you. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Amaka Nkele. Thank you, everybody, all Black and Brown creatives everywhere, for once again tuning in, for listening in on YouTube and downloading on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. Please continue to do so. We'll be presenting a new episode every Sunday moving forward. Please also remember to go to www.thelostpublishing.com to pick up yourself a copy of Lost Lovers of Storytime Volume 1. Always know you are a creative, and tell me your story.
Thank you.